Lenses,
vintage lenses,
new lenses. Why I need so many lenses? Dear customer, we hope that our lenses will help you capture many unique images and unforgettable emotion. Well, let's see if that's true. Because I have here the hottest and most famous Russian vintage lenses rehoused in this good looking body that also has anamorphic bokeh and my name on the cap engraved. That is really cool. Today we're gonna take a look at these lenses because I had the chance to take them for a test drive in the mountains, and I got some really good shots paired with my Sony a7S III, and I really wanna see exactly how they perform in a more controlled environment and show you exactly how they flare, what's the bokeh looking, what's their minimal focus distance, and what I like and don't like about them. So before doing that, I'm gonna play the sequence that I shot in the mountains so you can judge a little bit how the image looks, and then we're gonna continue with the studio shots and see exactly if these lenses are good for you or not. Let's begin.
Stones we carried, clothes we lived in, all the tales we will tell our children. Oh, we're taking the high road. Lay beside me, wake the morning, ever after, day reborn in.
So let me know what you thought about the sequence that you just watched. In my opinion, these lenses produce a really beautiful cinematic effect, and they have something really beautiful to the image that you don't see every day. And therefore, I'm really curious to see your opinion. But now we are in the studio and we're gonna perform a more intensive test where we're gonna look at all the things that these lenses have. So let's start with the first one. So we have the Sony FX6 right here with the first lens, the 28 Mir 10A, and this lens has an f3.5, which is kind of a lot for nowadays. Like, we are used to seeing f1.8, f1.4 or 2.8, but this one has a 3.5, which is kind of big, but for a wide lens this is quite okay. One thing that we were gonna look right now is exactly how the image looks. So right now I'm focused on Chypre, but as you can see, we don't have that really big separation between the subject and the background. We're gonna check right now to see if the lens has focus breathing. And as I'm gonna zoom in, we can see a little bit of the bokeh, which is pretty good. And as I zoom out, which the zoom has a really long focus rotation, so you kind of need a focus mechanism to make this focus smoother, but it has a lot of focus breathing. Mainly because if you look at the lens, whenever I focus, you can see the lens going in and out, because these are vintage lenses and they are not made to have the moving mechanism inside the lens. So that's why you see it going in and out. But one of the things that I think this lens shines is it has a really close minimal focus distance. Now let me show you. Right now, Chypre is the closest as you can be to the lens, and that is really, really close. This is like a few centimeters, and you can see his eyes. This is really cool. Can you step back a little bit and come again to the lens? So you can see, guys, this is where this lens shines. It's a wide lens with macro capabilities, and this is the coolest thing about it, because this is how I would use this lens in more macro situation, not really wide shots, because in wide you cannot really see its characteristics like the bokeh and everything like that, but when you're close down the focus, you can see the bokeh a little bit better in the background, you see? Now we're gonna move on with the test, and I'm gonna drop down the aperture and see how it looks as I go down. I think it's pretty even. We don't have vignetting or anything like that. And now I'm gonna try and see how it looks whenever I try to flare this lens. I don't know how it looks. You guys let me know how the image looks whenever I flare it, but it should look pretty cool. So guys, we're gonna switch to the next lens, which is the 37 2.8. This one is the famous Mir 1V, and it's a quite interesting focal length. It's 37, usually see 35, but it's a 2.8, which is again a little bit closed down compared to different lenses that are, let's say, 35 f1.4, but because it has this anamorphic bokeh, it looks a little bit different. So let's see how it looks. And as you can see, it looks pretty good at f2.8. It's not marketed in T, so it's marketed as an f-stop, meaning it's not that exact. But as we look to the image, it looks pretty sharp, looks pretty good. Let's pan a little bit, see if it has distortion on the edges. It doesn't have, looks pretty good. One thing that I want to see is exactly how it focuses. So I'm gonna go to minimal focus distance, and here you can see the beautiful anamorphic bokeh that we all love to see and want to see. And now I'm gonna focus all the way to infinity. Again, these lenses have a really big focus rotation, so they require you to have a focus mechanism in order to focus better with them. Next up, let's see how these lenses flare. I think they flare pretty good. Obviously the flare is a little bit different than with the wide one, but overall I like how it looks. We're gonna go now to the close focusing and see how it looks. I think this is the minimal focus distance, which for a 35mm lens is quite big. It says here 0.57 meters, which usually you see 0.57 at a 50mm lens. For the vintage lens, the old school one, it's usually 0.7, but with this one they managed it to make the focus distance a little bit smaller, so it's 0.57. which looks really good. Like you can see the bokeh in the background, everything looks really beautiful. So let me know what you think about this lens. We're gonna go to the next one. So the lens that we have right now on the camera, and it's the most famous one, is the Helios 44-2 lens, which is actually a 58mm lens with an f2.0. And this one is by far my favorite from the set, and you're gonna see why. So to begin with, this one is one of the most wide open lenses from the set, meaning it has the more light coming into, so it's easier to film with this one in the night and in dim light situation. And as you can see, the image looks really good on this one. We can see a little bit of the squirrely bokeh in the background, and that bokeh is amplified by the anamorphic bokeh that we have installed in the lens, and overall it looks really good. Let's pan a little bit, see how it looks. Now let's see a little bit of the focus going on. So I'm gonna go to minimal focus distance, and we have a beautiful bokeh, as you can see. We're gonna go to infinity. One of the things that I realized while filming with this lens is that it's very easy to hold focus with it. So that is really nice. And now we're gonna go to the minimal focus distance. As you can see, we have a really tight minimal focus distance, which is really good. It's 0.5 meters. So you're able to get these beautiful portraits and all that without any worries. And I think this is a really big bonus about this lens, because you can get these beautiful portrait shots. Next one is the Jupiter 9, which is one of the most famous vintage lenses for its beautiful bokeh. This one has, opposed to the other one, really nice round shaped bokeh because of its 16 blade iris. But the thing is that now we have an anamorphic bokeh installed here, so it's gonna look even more delicious. So let's see how it looks. This one is again an f2.0, which is pretty wide open, looks really good. As you can see, the bokeh looks absolutely crazy. It's really nice. We're gonna try to see if it has distortion, which unfortunately it does not have, but it looks really, really good. Now we're gonna see the focus, minimal focus distance, how it looks. The bokeh looks really nice. And one thing about this lens is it doesn't have that much focus breathing. Like, so far from the whole set, the widest lens has the most focus breathing. Looks really nice. And now the minimal focus distance, which is 0.8 meters. So you're kind of getting, like, composition wise, you're pretty much getting the same composition as with the 58, but way more compressed. So, and now let's talk a little bit of negatives. You see, these lenses have a few flaws, and it's normal because they are vintage lenses, but there are a few flaws that I don't like. Number one is the fact of, because of this anamorphic installment in the back, you kind of lose a lot of light. If we compare a normal lens at f2 with this lenses at f2, it's gonna be a big difference. And this is something that you should take into consideration, because I wanted to film with these lenses at night, and if I wasn't having these cameras with dual native ISO, that would be almost impossible. If you want to get these lenses, take that in mind, that with this anamorphic installment, you're gonna lose a lot of light, but you're kind of getting something pretty nice instead, which sometimes if you use these lenses only outdoor, it's a good thing, because you don't have to put ND filters in front and all that. Second thing that I don't like is the fact that there is a pretty big difference in weight between the lenses, which is not something that it's a problem, but for some people, when you switch on gimbal lenses, it is important to have the same weight on each and every of the lenses, because you don't want to rebalance the gimbal over and over again. So between lenses, there is a pretty big difference in weight. Another thing is the fact that the focus is the other way around. For example, at most of the lenses that I use, the focus is in front, but with this one is on the back. So it's a little bit of a mind fuck whenever you film with them, because you don't know where to put your hands. And there are gonna be often times where you're gonna wanna put your hand on the focus, but you put it on the aperture, and you're gonna change the aperture instead of the focus. But with all these being said, I think the negatives kind of don't outcome the positive, because there are a lot more positive things about these lenses than negatives. So for me, after using these lenses, I can see them using them in a lot of creative ways that you don't see every day. For example, normal clinical lenses, of course, they are perfect. They have a lot of things that you can count on, but with these lenses, you can make some really impressive cinematography that people will question on what lenses did they use, what camera was that shot on. And I think that's really important, because nowadays cameras are really, really good, and I think we can only make a difference with lenses. And with all this being said, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's gonna help you decide whenever you wanna buy these lenses or not. To be honest, I bought them myself. I ordered them like a long time ago, and it was a pretty big waiting time. They arrived at my door in like 2 or 3 months, which it's a pretty long time to wait for a product, but the waiting was worth it because I think these lenses are very special, and I think they are a long-term investment. In a few years from now, I'm gonna be very happy that I bought these lenses, mainly because they are old lenses rehoused and they're gonna last even more. So let me know in the comments what you thought about this video. If you enjoyed it, please follow me on this channel. Let's continue this journey and create even more epic content. Follow me on Instagram too. I make a lot of cool content there. And go out, create some epic content, guys. Just be creative. That's the most important thing. Until next time, peace.